Firm Feedback in a Fragile World by Jeff Hancher. Let's face it, most people don't exactly look forward to getting feedback. And as a leader, you probably don't feel entirely confident giving it either. But here's the paradox that defines the modern workplace. Even though nearly 7 out of 10 managers admit they feel uncomfortable giving feedback, a staggering 3 out of 4 employees say they actually want more of it. This leaves our workplaces starved for the very thing they need to grow. Leaders often feel caught on a tightrope. If you push too hard, you're afraid your best people will leave. If you don't say anything, you're the one left cleaning up the mess. This fear of giving feedback often keeps leaders from giving any at all. But the real challenge isn't just about delivering a tough message. It's about creating a space where people feel safe enough to hear that message and use it to grow. And that's exactly what we're going to explore. Here's one of the most important mindset shifts a leader can make about feedback. At its heart, feedback, when done well, should be seen as a tool to help people reach their own goals. When your team understands that your feedback isn't about helping you look good or hitting the next big number, but about their own development, they become willing to engage, learn, and improve. Healthy workplaces are built on this culture of encouragement. This requires a foundation of trust, where conversations about growth feel safe, honest, and genuinely helpful. If you think back on the leaders who truly changed your life, it likely wasn't just the ones who cheered you on. It was the ones who held you to a higher standard because they saw your potential. Effective and trustworthy leaders embrace this role. They are assertive, blending clarity with care. They set clear expectations while forming genuine relationships, holding people accountable while passionately supporting their growth. This kind of leadership requires intention and practice, but it reminds people that they are capable, seen, and supported. It's how you achieve great things together. At the heartbeat of great feedback is one thing: the relationship. And a healthy relationship is a two-way street. The author Jeff learned this firsthand from his executive assistant, Karen. One day, she told him she didn't feel like anything she did was ever good enough. This completely blindsided him. In his head, he was constantly praising Karen's work to others, just never directly to her. Karen wasn't angry. She was hurt. She felt like all she ever got from him were more instructions and corrections, not appreciation. In that moment, the author realized he was making too many withdrawals from Karen without making enough deposits. Think of your relationship with each team member as a trust bank account. Feedback, especially corrective feedback, is a withdrawal. You can't make withdrawals if the account is empty. Trust is built on deposits. Saying thank you, offering encouragement, and showing you genuinely care. As leaders, we're often hardwired to look for problems and fix them. But in that hunt for improvement, we forget to notice and celebrate what's going well. That's why one-on-one meetings are so critical. Every time you ask about someone's personal goals, their family, or their weekend, you're making a deposit. These personal investments are just as critical as professional ones. When you help people reach the goals they care about, you earn the right to speak into their lives with feedback. As a leader, you must earn the right to give feedback. And that starts by making deposits that show you care. Before we get into what makes feedback work, let's talk about the common traps that make it fail. Bad feedback often stems from a central misunderstanding. Many leaders believe feedback is about passing judgment. This is wrong. Feedback should be neutral. It's simply information returned to help modify a future action. That's it. It's not positive or negative. It's just data. The problem arises when leaders bring their own emotions into it. Frustration, disappointment, or anger. Suddenly, the feedback becomes emotionally charged. When you give feedback with emotion, you start using extreme language. You say things like, "You never show up on time," or "You always throw your coworkers under the bus." Those words, never, always, are rarely true, and they immediately put people on the defensive. Once people feel personally attacked, they stop listening and start protecting themselves. Effective leaders diagnose the problem, not the person. They are hard on expectations, but soft on people. Another common trap is the infamous feedback sandwich. You know the drill. Say something nice, slip in the negative feedback, and then end with another compliment. It sounds gentle, but it actually confuses your message. Let's say you tell Tara she's a caring team member, then you mention she's often late, and then you tell her reports are flawless. What is Tara supposed to take away from that? Is being late a big deal or not? The feedback sandwich dilutes your message, and your team ends up unclear about what actually needs to change. Even worse, your team starts to distrust every compliment, assuming it's just a setup for bad news. Instead, let your positives be positive and your corrective feedback be clear and direct. To make this easier, schedule time each week for feedback. Block off a few half-hour slots on your calendar. This way, feedback becomes a normal, expected part of the work week, not a surprise ambush. So, you've set your weekly feedback meetings. How should they actually go? There are 3 forms of helpful feedback, and knowing when to use each is a leadership superpower. The first is directive feedback. This is for situations that require quick, clear instructions. You tell your people exactly what needs to be done, how, and when. It's direct and firm. You use this for non-negotiable situations, like a safety protocol violation or a major client issue that needs to be fixed immediately. These aren't moments for a long collaborative discussion. They are moments for clear, decisive action. Directive feedback cuts through chaos when the stakes are high. However, your more common, everyday approach should be collaborative feedback. This is about building bridges, not walls. It's a two-way conversation that involves listening, asking questions, and working together to find solutions. This is the go-to approach for high-performing, experienced employees who know their jobs. They don't need you to hold their hand, but they do need a coach who can help them see new areas for improvement. By asking questions like, what's working for you? What's getting in your way? And what can we do to turn things around? You empower your employees to own the solutions. Finally, there's supportive feedback, which is all about encouragement and empathy. You use this when an employee is truly struggling, perhaps due to a personal or professional challenge. This type of feedback requires listening above all else. It's a powerful tool for helping a high performer who has hit a rough patch, or for anyone who just needs to be heard during a chaotic time. By listening actively and offering encouragement, you give your employees the confidence to get back on track. But keep in mind, supportive feedback shouldn't become a way for employees to dodge their responsibilities. That brings us to the final unbreakable rule: accountability. Accountability is the backbone of real leadership. If you don't follow through, you might as well not set expectations at all. Every time you let a missed deadline, a bad attitude, or a shortcut slide, you lose credibility with your entire team. If you're not prepared to hold people accountable, none of the feedback techniques we've discussed will matter. But accountability doesn't mean you have to become a ruthless tyrant. A practical tool for handling these conversations is the 5 questions technique. This is a respectful way to handle unmet expectations. The 5 questions are: do you know what the expectation is? Can you explain what the expectation is? This confirms understanding. Can you tell me why meeting this expectation is good for you? This reinforces their buy-in. What changes will you make to ensure you meet the expectation? This puts ownership on them. If this behavior continues, what do you think we should do about it? This makes consequences clear and fair. These questions make accountability a transparent, collaborative process. Finally, remember that getting better at feedback requires practice and self-reflection. You need to actively seek feedback on your own performance from your team and your boss. You can't lead effectively if you're afraid of discomfort. If you want to build a high-trust, high-performance culture, you have to give feedback firmly, receive it graciously, and always follow through.